We'd met on a dating app. His profile looked fine. Nothing strange. Clean photos, normal job, normal messages, complete sentences. That alone felt reassuring in 2019. I texted my friend Hannah the restaurant name and address. I sent a screenshot of his profile. I shared my location, I picked the place, the time, the lighting. Every rule you follow when you don't want to end up as a story someone else tells. And still, standing there with my keys in my hand, I realized none of that mattered. I got there early, sat with my back to the wall, ordered a soda, and watched people come and go. When he walked in, my first thought wasn't fear. It was, that's not him. Not in the people choose flattering photos way. More like I'd agreed to meet one person and a different person showed up expecting the agreement to transfer. He was older than his photos. Not a little. Thinner hair, heavier face, clothes clean, but worn in a way that felt careless. He smelled like too much cologne. He walked straight to my table like he had every right to be there. "Hey," he said, leaning in like we were familiar. I stood up because standing buys you a second. He went for a half hug. I angled it into an awkward side pat. Then I said it. "You look a little different than your photos." "Don't be shallow," he said. "You're not like that." It was fast and practiced, like he'd run this exact moment in his head already. I should have left then. I know that now. But my brain did what it always does. It tried to solve the social problem instead of the safety one. Okay, stay calm. Don't escalate. Maybe bad photos, maybe nerves. We sat. He talked like he was filling time. Questions that sounded normal but felt off. Where do you work? Do you live alone? What part of town? Are you close with your family? When I answered vaguely, he just kept looking at me like he was waiting for more usable data. When I mentioned I was a UX designer, he made a face. "So, tech," he said. "That explains it." "Explains what?" I wanted to ask. But I didn't. When the server came by, I smiled and asked for the check early. He leaned back like I'd insulted him. "We already committed to tonight," he said. "I told you I have an early morning." "I took time for you," he replied. "Be respectful." Respect, not connection. Ownership. He stood first. "Let's go outside," he said. "It's loud in here." I didn't want to go outside. Outside meant fewer people. But if I refused, would he follow me anyway? Would he make a scene? So I went. I kept my phone in my hand and walked a half step behind him. Outside, I stopped. "I'm going to go," I said, trying to make it final. He smiled patiently. "You're doing that thing," he said, "where you act like I'm dangerous. I'm not. I just don't like being disrespected." My thumb was already over my key fob. "I'm leaving," I said. Then he was beside my car too fast, like he knew exactly where I'd parked. He positioned himself at my driver's door. Casual, hands down, blocking without touching. "You run at Laurelhurst," he said, "in the mornings." I didn't react the way I wanted to. I said, "What?" "The park," he continued. "You like the loop. You stop at that cafe on Burnside sometimes." My body went hot. "That's public," I said. "You've got that little sticker on your bike," he added, looking toward my car, the one on the frame. I had never mentioned my bike or the sticker. "How do you know that?" I asked. He leaned closer, still not touching. "You're smart," he said. "Don't play dumb. You want to act like I catfished you because I don't look perfect?" He nodded toward the restaurant. 10 minutes, he said. "Sit back down like an adult, or I stand here all night." I looked toward the front of the building. People were there, but far enough away to feel unreachable. I unlocked my phone and lifted it to my face like I was calling someone. "Yeah," I said, loud now. "I'm leaving. I'm in the parking lot. I wasn't calling." I shared my location again, opened a voice memo, and hit record. Then I hit my car alarm. The sound ripped through the lot. It changed everything. Turned our private moment public. He flinched, and the emotion underneath was irritation. I hit it again. A couple turned. A server stepped out. A car slowed. "I'm fine," I said loudly, like answering a question no one asked. "I just need you to move." His calm finally cracked. "You're making yourself look crazy," he said under his breath. "Great," I said. Move. He looked around and made a choice. He stepped back just enough. I slid into my car, locked it, and drove. I didn't check mirrors. I didn't do anything normal. I went to Hannah's place. She let me in, took one look at my face, and locked the deadbolt. The next morning, I went home to shower. I moved fast from my car to my building and didn't look around. That afternoon, a message popped up from a new account. No photo. Random username. Made it home safe? I stared at it until the screen dimmed. The worst part wasn't the message. It was that I couldn't tell if he was bluffing. Because once someone knows enough about you, a bluff and a threat feel the same. That's what I took from that night. Not be careful on dates. Not meet in public. Something colder. Safety isn't just about choosing the right steps. It's about noticing when someone is trying to make you follow theirs. I'm not reckless with dating. I'm a civil engineer. I plan things. I double-check things. After my divorce, I kept my life deliberately small. Work, gym, home. Dating apps were something I approached cautiously, almost clinically. We matched in early spring. She wasn't flashy. No model photos, no weird filters. Just a woman who looked like she had a job, a routine, a real life. She wasn't intense. She didn't rush. She didn't push for anything physical or emotional. Our conversations unfolded slowly, over months. She remembered small details, asked about my projects, checked in after stressful days. When I mentioned the divorce, she didn't pry, just acknowledged it and moved on. It felt respectful. I suggested FaceTime more than once. She always had a reason not to. A broken camera. Anxiety. Next week. It was always framed as vulnerability, not avoidance. I believed her because I wanted to. By the time we planned to meet, it felt less like a first date and more like finally syncing real life with something that already existed. We went to a quiet wine bar, dim lighting, soft music. I arrived early because I always do. I texted her, "Here." She replied immediately, "Parking." Then, "I'm nervous, lol." Then, 2 minutes. I watched the door, ordered a glass of wine, checked my phone again. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I sent another message. Nothing. I called, straight to voicemail. People came and went. The bartender looked over more than once. I sat there longer than I should have. Leaving felt like confirming what I already knew. Eventually, I paid and left. In my car, I stared through the windshield for a moment, hands on the wheel, feeling stupid in a way that burned more than anger. Driving home, I told myself the obvious explanation. Catfish, fake profile, move on. When I got home, I scrolled through our entire conversation again. Months of messages, shared routines, personal details I hadn't thought twice about giving. That's when the discomfort started pressing in. I deleted the thread to put it behind me. And then the knock came. I checked the time, just after 10, and I assumed it was a neighbor or someone at the wrong door. Another knock. I walked to the door and leaned into the peephole. No one was there, not standing in front of it anyway. The porch light was on. I could see the doormat and my neighbor's house. No movement. Then the voice came. "It's Rachel." The sound was right where the door met the frame, like she was speaking directly into the crack. "Rachel?" I asked through the door. "Yeah," she said. "I'm really sorry. I just need to talk for a minute." Something about the voice didn't line up with what I expected. Not obviously wrong, just like the pitch didn't quite match the cadence. Then I noticed a shadow, just off to the side of the doorframe. She was standing out of view. Whoever it was wasn't trying to be seen. My first thought was, maybe she's different, and she's embarrassed. I didn't want to be the guy who slammed a door because someone didn't sound how I expected. Then the voice came back. "Please, don't do that. I already feel stupid enough." I hated that it worked. I slid the chain into place and unlocked the door, telling myself I'd just crack it and end it there. I opened it maybe 2 inches. That's when I saw the eye. Not a woman. A man. standing inches from the door, pressed sideways against the wall. He was wearing a black ski mask. It was stretched over his face. We both reacted at the same time. I slammed the door. The impact ripped the chain from the frame. The door flew back open as his shoulder hit it. He lunged forward, one gloved hand jamming into the gap, fingers clawing for the lock. I threw my weight against the door, pushing with everything I had. He grunted and tried again. "Relax," he said. The voice was his real one now. Deep, flat, nothing like Rachel. "I just want to come in." I shoved harder and managed to force the door closed enough to engage the deadbolt. The handle rattled immediately. Really hard. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and locked myself in the bedroom. I could hear him move outside. "You almost opened it. That's the funny part." I didn't answer. By the time police arrived, he was gone. No neighbors had seen anything. No cameras caught his face. Just a damaged doorframe and a report full of phrases like "suspected attempted burglary." The next morning, I understood what really happened. Rachel wasn't the catfish. Rachel was the key. And if I hadn't been so worried about seeming rude or judgmental or wrong, I would have opened the door. I matched with her earlier that month, right after finals wrapped up. Eugene winters make everything feel smaller. Gray skies, wet sidewalks, people retreating indoors. I'd been spending most of my time either on campus or alone in my apartment, convincing myself I was fine with it. Her profile felt normal. A couple selfies, a hiking photo, one holding a mug with a dumb caption about caffeine, and her messages were thoughtful without being forced. The compliments started early. "You're different. You actually think before you talk. I feel like I can be real with you." I answered slower than she did. She always replied fast. If I took an hour, she'd joke about scaring me off. If I took longer, she'd say she missed me. It felt like a lot, but not in an explosive way. More like pressure building quietly. After a week, she started pushing to meet. "I don't like endless texting. I want something real." I agreed to coffee, but set boundaries. Public place, daytime, neutral location. She agreed immediately. Then she asked what part of town I lived in so she could find something close. I didn't answer that. I joked that Eugene was tiny anyway. She laughed and dropped it. A couple days later, I told her I wasn't interested. I didn't ghost. I didn't dramatize it. I kept it polite. "I've enjoyed talking, but I don't think this is the right fit. I don't want to lead you on." Her response came fast. "Oh, I thought you cared. Did I do something wrong?" I told her no, that it wasn't about that. She didn't get angry. She got hurt. "I really liked you. I don't open up like this. I feel stupid." Then she went silent. No messages, no typing bubble, nothing. I felt relieved. I put my phone down and assumed it was over. Over the next few days, little things happened that I tried to explain away. A blank Instagram account followed me. No posts. Random username. I ignored it. Someone viewed my LinkedIn profile. No photo. Generic name. I told myself it could have been anyone. Then I got a Venmo request for $4.50 with the note. "Coffee?" No name I recognized. No picture. I declined it and blocked the account, annoyed at myself for feeling unsettled. Nothing happened. There was nothing to report, just noise. Until the photo. My phone buzzed on my nightstand at 11:47 p.m. I was half asleep, still thinking about a paragraph I'd rewritten too many times when I saw the preview of an image message. I assumed it was a group chat, someone sending something stupid before bed. It wasn't. It was my front door. My actual front door, taken from the hallway outside my apartment. The chain lock. The scuffed paint near the peephole. The crooked welcome mat I always kicked back into place with my foot. The timestamp read 11:44 p.m. Below the image was a caption, "Just to say goodbye." I sat up and swung my legs off the bed before my brain caught up. I crossed the apartment quietly and leaned into the peephole. The hallway was empty. Normally, you could hear everything in my building. Someone's TV through the wall, footsteps on the stairs, The dryer down the hall rattling like it was falling apart. That night, there was nothing, just my heater clicking and the fridge. After checking the peephole and seeing nothing, I stepped back and checked the locks anyway. Deadbolt. Chain. The cheap latch that came with the apartment. My phone buzzed again. I'm not trying to scare you. That sentence was worse than the picture, because it meant she knew exactly what I'd do next. That she'd already pictured me standing there, deciding what to do. I didn't reply. Another buzz. I just wanted to see you one last time. You're safe if you don't make it weird. The way it was phrased, like she was setting rules, made my whole core tense up. I moved away from the door and went to the living room window. From the second floor, I could usually see people coming and going. Headlights. Someone smoking under the awning. But there was nothing. The parking lot and the sidewalk were both empty. Then my phone buzzed again. I can hear you. Then the pounding started. The door shook in its frame as her fist hit it again and again. Open the door, she screamed. I just want to talk. I backed away, heart hammering so hard it felt like my ribs were vibrating. She kicked the door. Twice. I know you're in there, she shouted. Don't pretend you're not. Lights came on across the hallway. A door opened down the corridor. Then she leaned close enough to the door that I could hear her breathing through the wood. You think this makes you safe? She said. I know where you live. I know when you leave, she continued. I know when you come back. I can wait. That was it. I called 911. While I was on the call, she started slamming her shoulder into the door, over and over. The frame creaked. Dust fell from the top hinge. I'll get you eventually, she screamed. You can't hide from me. Someone shouted that the police were coming. That's when she laughed. Actually laughed. Good, she said. They won't do anything. Then footsteps, running this time. By the time the police arrived, she was gone. They took a report, asked if I wanted to press charges, told me it was unlikely they'd find her unless she came back. One of the officers suggested a restraining order. Another said, at least she didn't get inside, like that was supposed to help. The next morning, I found a dent at the bottom of the door, the shoe mark still there. I didn't go to class that day. I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days after that. When I finally did, I noticed something that made me stop right there. Someone had scratched a line into the paint next to my door frame. I don't know if it was her. I don't know if she came back. What I do know is that I don't feel anonymous anymore. Nothing dramatic happened after. No confrontation, no arrest. But every time my phone buzzes at night, I think of that photo. It's crazy how fast she decided I belonged to her. I thought I finally met someone who understood me. Later, I realized he didn't understand me. He studied me. Back then, that difference wasn't obvious. I was still in that hopeful place where attention feels like safety, especially when you've spent years convincing yourself you're fine and past it. We met on a dating app in 2020, when everything felt suspended and unstable. My graduate program had gone remote. My internship hours were inconsistent, and I lived alone in a small apartment. His profile was unremarkable in the best way. No dramatic captions, no curated edge. He looked normal, calm, safe. I replied because nothing about him raised alarms. From the beginning, he was patient. Not flirty, not rushed. He asked questions that sounded thoughtful. How are you sleeping lately? What do you do when your thoughts spiral? What does a good day look like for you? He listened. He validated. He said things like, that makes sense, and I'm glad you told me. It felt steady. It felt adult. When things deepened, he shared first, or at least what sounded like sharing. He talked about therapy, about doing the work, about boundaries and triggers, casually, like someone fluent in emotional language. Those words mattered to me. They still do. In my field, they usually mean effort. So I opened up. Not all at once, but enough. I told him about my childhood, about a past relationship that left me with habits I didn't like but understood, about how I learned to be adaptable, useful, calm, because that's how you survive certain environments. He listened closely, and he remembered everything. At first, that felt flattering. Then it started to feel like he was taking notes. The first moment something felt wrong was small enough to almost dismiss. I'd had a heavy week, deadlines, emotional exhaustion, too many Zoom calls. I told him I needed a quiet night, just rest. I said we'd talk tomorrow. He replied, "Don't abandon me." I assumed it was a joke, but then he followed with, "That's not funny. You don't get to do that to people." I explained carefully that I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was going to sleep. I asked him to respect that. "You're triggering me," he wrote. "You promised you wouldn't disappear." We'd been talking for 3 weeks. That's what made it confusing. He wasn't cruel. He was framing my need for space as harm, using language that made me feel like I'd done something wrong by having boundaries. Then the switch. "I'm sorry, I'm just scared. I really like you." The shift was instant. One moment I was the problem, the next I was the solution. I told myself he was anxious, that everyone was on edge, that this was temporary, and I stayed. After that, it became a pattern. If I didn't respond fast enough, he worried. If I mentioned plans, he asked who I'd be with. If I set limits, he treated them like rejection. "You're pulling away. You're doing that thing you do." He said it like he knew me. What unsettled me most was how he reused my own words. I once told him that unpredictability was what hurt me most, that people leaving without warning made me spiral. Later, when I didn't answer for a few hours because I was in class, he texted, "You know what it feels like when someone leaves. Don't do to me what they did to you." That's when it started to feel intentional, like he was building something out of my past and handing it back to me whenever he needed leverage. When I finally tried to slow things down, really slow them, he escalated. "I can't handle this. I'm not safe right now." I read the message again and again. The professional part of my brain kicked in. I offered resources, hotlines, support, friends, options. He ignored all of it. "I don't want help," he wrote. "I want you." That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't pain, it was control. I told him I wasn't going to meet him, that I cared, but I wasn't responsible for his choices. He softened immediately. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm just scared. Please, just coffee. 10 minutes. I said no. I just wanted to feel close to you. It was framed as affection. It landed as a threat. I blocked him, took screenshots, changed settings, reported it, told people in my life. Everyone was sympathetic in the way people are when nothing has technically happened yet. Be careful. Carry something. Lock your doors. He hadn't touched me. He hadn't shown his face. He just made sure I knew he could. For a while, it was quiet. Then, weeks later, a new account followed me. No posts, no name I recognized. A message request came through. One line, something he'd said early on, back when it felt safe. "I'm proud of you for surviving." My hands went numb around my phone because it proved he was still there, and that he still had access to parts of me I'd shared when I thought I was being understood. I blocked that account too, and others after it. He didn't need to invent a weapon. He just learned my language, shaped it into something that sounded like care, and used it to keep me from moving. I remember the exact moment I was sitting on my couch, scrolling and thinking, this wasn't just a match. This felt like someone reaching into my life. That sounds dramatic written out, but it didn't feel that way at the time. It felt personal, like someone had touched something that wasn't meant to be shared. In 2019, I was 35, living in Boise, teaching high school English. If you saw me during the day, you'd think I was doing fine. Lesson plans, coffee, dry jokes in the staff room, normal. At night, my house didn't feel normal. It felt like a place that had learned how to be empty. My wife, Erin, had died the year before. Sudden, medical, the kind of loss people apologize for and then avoid asking about. I didn't blame them. I didn't know how to explain it either. That's how I ended up in a private grief forum. Not a public one. A moderated space that required approval. Everyone used first names or initials. People wrote long posts, like letters they didn't want their friends to read. One night, I wrote more than I meant to. I talked about the small things people don't warn you about. How silence starts to feel loud. How I still bought oat milk even though I didn't drink it. How Erin used to joke when she lost her keys. She'd stand in the doorway and say, "The house ate them again." I hadn't said that sentence out loud in months. I posted it, regretted it immediately, and went to bed. 3 days later, I got a match on a dating app I'd downloaded and deleted half a dozen times. Her name was Maya. Her photos were normal in a way I trusted. No filters, no influencer poses, someone who looked like they actually lived where it snowed. Her profile caught my attention. She listed an obscure podcast Erin loved, mentioned a small local art market Erin used to drag me to, and wrote one line that didn't feel like a line at all. "I'm patient with quiet people. Sometimes quiet is heavy." I figured it was just coincidence. Boise isn't big, interests overlap. We started talking. She was calm, patient, not pushy. She didn't rush to meet. She asked thoughtful questions and didn't seem bothered when I took time to respond. Then she said something that made my chest feel hollow. "Do you still buy oat milk by accident?" That detail wasn't on my public social media. I hadn't written about it anywhere except that grief post. I asked how she knew. She replied, "Just a guess. Widowers do that." At the time, it sounded like understanding. Over the next week, it kept happening. She referenced my grading habits, the cheap pens I complained about, the mug I always left in the sink because I hated seeing it empty. It wasn't constant. That's what made it convincing. It felt like someone noticing me, not collecting data. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe she was in the forum too. That would explain it. So I asked. She dodged the question. When I asked where she lived, she said, "Near enough." When I asked what she did for work, she said, "A little of everything." Then she asked to talk on the phone. I agreed. Cleaned my kitchen, graded papers, told myself I was being ridiculous. Her voice didn't match her photos. Older than I expected. Rougher. Like someone used to cold air or cigarettes. The conversation kept drifting back to Erin. Then she said it. "The house ate them again." I didn't answer right away. She laughed. "You still hear her," she said. "That's sweet." I ended the call. I made an excuse and hung up. My living room didn't feel like my living room anymore. I opened the grief forum on my laptop, found my post, and deleted it. Then deleted my account. Like removing the words changed anything. My phone buzzed minutes later. "Why would you take that away?" That's when it stopped feeling strange and started feeling wrong. I told her not to contact me again. She replied, "You don't get to ignore me after I gave you that." Like she'd given me a gift, like she hadn't stolen it first. I blocked her everywhere. A few days later, a new match appeared. Different name, different photos, same writing style. First message, "Quiet is heavy, isn't it?" I blocked that one too. Then another showed up a week later, and another after that. I contacted the forum moderators, embarrassed. I expected a generic warning. Instead, one of them asked me to send profile details. They replied later, privately. There had been other reports. People contacted off-platform. Matches using wording from posts. Connections that felt intimate before turning threatening. They didn't call it a breach, just suspicious behavior. Helpful advice after the damage was done. Because the problem wasn't that someone read my grief. It was that someone studied it. I never found out who it was. There was no confrontation, no resolution. I changed passwords, locked down accounts, stopped posting anything personal anywhere. But the feeling stayed, like someone had built a map of me. That's the part that won't let go. Because even now, years later, when my house is too quiet and I misplace my keys, I almost say the joke out loud. And then I don't, because it feels like if I open that door again, someone else might answer. If these stories made you rethink who you trust and how fast things can go wrong, smash that like button, hit subscribe so you never miss the next nightmare, and let me know which story got under your skin. And if you think snowy nights are cozy, this next video will ruin that for you. Click now to watch 4 really disturbing snowy night stories, because cold nights don't forgive bad decisions. Thanks for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.